This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen. Chris is back from a little break. Chris, welcome in. Hope you're ready to give some winning bets. Take over from AJ. I don't think he had a winning record last week, but we did hit our team parlay, so that's a positive. But Chris, what's going on?
Nice. Nice. Hey, well, good to get the team parlay. I think we had been 0 for our last three when we had
Yeah.
been getting them, so I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I missed last week, just had some stuff going on, and I'm happy to be back this week. I feel like I was saying, Adam, I feel like we haven't chatted in what feels like a little while. I mean, aside from sending a couple slacks each way. But yeah, happy to come back. I unfortunately didn't watch much EPL last weekend, so I feel like I'm a little fish out of water right now. But I did take some time here before the show, and I'm hoping that we got some good bets. This is an interesting week of Premier League matches too, just given some of the matchups. There's really, I think Man City is the only like super heavy favorite, and then with Chelsea at Wolverhampton, or I guess is that yeah, Chelsea's home
Oh,
against
yeah.
Wolverhampton, always a tough match. And then we got to couple pretty marquee matchups on the table between Brighton and Tottenham, and Liverpool and Arsenal. So yeah, excited to get back into them, and obviously, hopefully we get our bets right here.
You know it's going to be a tight week when the third and fourth biggest favorite are West Ham and Newcastle. Seems seems a little funny to say, but
Yeah.
I guess it makes sense when you look at the matchups. But I'm looking at this. I got this big cheat sheet up with all 10 matches. Check this out, rotowire.com/soccer trial. You can get this free 10-day trial. Both of us use these cheat sheets pretty regularly. I just posted my betting article. You can also check that out, rotowire.com. As you can see, we got a yelling Jordan Pickford here on the cover, so check that out after the show. But we're talking three matches this week on this show for game week 10. And the first one we're talking about, as you mentioned, a pretty fun one. We got Brighton home against Tottenham, and the odds have gone against Tottenham, as you can see from the line movement. They used to be plus 100 to win. Now they're plus 155. So Tottenham are still away favorites. You can get Brighton to win at plus 180. And the draw is plus 245. And then over 2.5 goals is minus 115. Under 2.5 goals, minus 110. So last week we had Roberto De Zerbi, his debut with Brighton. 3-3 draw at Liverpool. I think Brighton scored the first two goals in that match. Very, very offensive, up and down kind of a game. Pretty exciting. Do you think the same thing is going to happen here?
I don't know if we're going to see another 3-3 match. I mean, that's a big ask out of both these teams. But I do think we'll see a couple goals here. Brighton has been, three goals against Liverpool, and then the week before that they beat Leicester City 5-2, and then prior to that 2-1 or 2-1 loss to Fulham, which was kind of a bit of an outlier. Other than that, but so I mean, last three matches we've seen a lot of goals despite the change in managerialship. They still look good. They played a really free flowing. I don't know if that was more, I mean, credit to them really, but also like the Liverpool defense hasn't exactly been airtight. And on the other hand, you got Tottenham, who's been involved in a couple high scoring matches, their last two matches too, where they also threw down on Leicester City 6-2. And then they of course last weekend was the North London derby that they lost 3-1 to Arsenal. So for just from that perspective, I feel like there's going to be a few goals in this one. I will say that, like, looking back at the historical data of their matchups, it's kind of been, a little bit of here and there for both teams coming away with results. It's not like one team has really dominated the other in terms of like winning and losing. So I think I'm kind of trying to stay away from it, at least from like picking a money line bet here. But I just like looking at the recent matchups and how many goals have been given. I'm gonna opt for this game to go over 2.5 goals. I think it's at minus 115. So I mean, just avoiding picking a team here and just hoping for quite a few goals. And yeah, hopefully that gets, actually, as I look at my own stats here if you're watching on YouTube, I'm a couple away from, clawing back to 500 here. So it would be big if I could get that.
9-1-1-1.
Call the Federales.
Yeah, so I had this bet. I changed it though to help Chris out as he gave this to
Oh,
me.
man. He's giving handouts now to his podcast partner. We love to
Um,
hear it.
So I did have to think about what I was going to do. I came to Tottenham over 1.5 goals at plus 130. Just leaning Tottenham. You could go Brighton over 1.5. You could go Tottenham over 1.5. I was also looking at like Danny Welbeck at plus 240 to score a couple shots on target each of the last two matches. I think it's inevitable that Welbeck's going to get one for him, but I think a good stat here. I think you'll like this one. I think both of us, it came to our heads over 2.5 goals. But what I was thinking is, these managers love to go off the counter. Conte, they love to take it on the counter. You got Son, got Richarlison, got Kane. Brighton, that's kind of what they're doing under De Zerbi. He's big and building out of the back and going on the counter kind of a thing. So I looked at Serie A. I looked at previous results for De Zerbi against Conte, and these guys actually went up head to head 4 times in Serie A, going back to the 2020 and 2021 seasons. So these stats are going to help us here. The first time
Wow.
they played, Inter won 4-3 at Sassuolo. Next match, it was 3-3. Next match, Inter won 3-0. Next match, Inter won 2-1. So there's been 3 goals in maybe the only 4 times these managers have gone against each other. I'm not sure. I didn't actually look at Conte against. I don't know if they played against Shakhtar Donetsk when De Zerbi was there recently, but those 4 results in Serie A, I think that's in our favor, and I like going with overs when you got like two counter-attacking teams playing against each other because that usually means there's going to be a lot of running, there's going to be a lot of back and forth. So I like both of ours here. I think this is could be like a 2-1, 2-2 kind of a thing. So there you go.
This is the Kits and Wagers Adam Zdroik difference right here. He's not only looking at data from the Premier League, not recent data. He's looking at Serie A data. So I mean, hats off to you on that. That's a good stat poll. And yeah, I think we're pretty much in agreement that I mean, you're taking Spurs, but yeah, we're looking for the over goals here. And you know, given what you said, I think I feel better about it than when I did when I said it.
That's I don't know, that was just a stat that aligned with my original thoughts, and I was like, wow, this is a great stat. So there we go.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, worked exactly in our favor. So uh,
Excellent.
I'm not gonna. I also maybe interwinning those matchups made me lean on Tottenham over, but probably a bad route on that one. But we'll see what happens.
I love the process. I mean, we got a top four Brighton side here.
Yeah,
This
I
is a
mean,
top four matchup, So this is.
yeah,
I was giving way too much credit to the Arsenal Liverpool matchup, but meanwhile we have a third fourth place matchup that is
Brighton,
arguably more
Brighton
important at this
sneaky
time.
top four here. Sneaky
Yes.
top four. The
Yeah. It's
Seagulls.
very.
Don't forget about the
Yeah.
Seagulls.
Yeah. How could we?
All right, so and what you thought was the biggest match is Arsenal home against Liverpool. It looks like the odds haven't really changed too much. Maybe you're getting some more Arsenal money lately, but you got Arsenal money line plus 155, Liverpool plus 160. So basically an even match here. If you want the draw, that's plus 270. Over 2.5 goals is minus 160. If you want to go higher, over 3.5 goals is plus 155. And then under 2.5 goals plus 130. Chris, you are the Liverpool expert on the show, I guess.
I think you meant to say Dynamo.
Okay, Dynamo. Yes, yes. But yeah, Arsenal are actually playing right now against Bodo Glimt. Looks like Nketiah just scored as we're speaking. So Arsenal are playing Thursday, but they rotated a bunch. I think it's only like Chaka and Martinelli, maybe Gabriel starting for him. So they rotated a bunch. I don't think it's going to matter. They're also at home today, so uh,
Yeah, they got yeah big rotation here. Martinelli, their starting three is Marquinhos, Nketiah, and then Martinelli. So
yeah, and Fabio, I
there's
believe, is playing too. Vieira is
yeah,
in there.
yeah, he's in the midfield with Sambi Lokonga and then Xhaka. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
so injury wise, I don't think there's going to be much of a deal here. I mean, I don't think Robertson's going to be back. We'll see what Liverpool look like midweek. They went to like a 4-4-2, maybe a 4-2-3-1. I don't know if they do that again, but it's possible. We'll see with that. But do you think there's going to be a winner in this match? I guess first.
well, I mean, my heart always tells me of course, but Liverpool's sitting at what plus 160, and I think Arsenal at home is plus 150 ish around there. So I mean, I'm not going out of my way to pick a winner, just given. I mean, Arsenal at home's one plus 155. Sorry, is a little more attractive than Liverpool heading there to pick them to get a win. But you're getting about the same odds. So just given our theory on Premier League home teams, I think you'd rather opt for Arsenal in that. But yeah, I'm interested to see if they come out with that same formation. Klopp was pretty adamant that it was a 4-4-2 in in like the post game presser, with I think I was reading like Ryan Kent and then whoever else is on Rangers on the left side. That's like where they do most of their attacking. So they had kind of Salah tucking in and Trent like staying home a little bit more. I looked at the heat map and it was just like him like almost. I think it was the first time in a while that his heat map was like in his own half. So or the majority of it. So I'm interested to see if they do that again. Would it be Martinelli on Arsenal's left side? Then it
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
yeah.
Saka's on
So
the right. Yeah,
yeah, so I'd be interested to see if they do that again and then try to kind of push forward through like tucked in with the double pivot and then having, uh, Kostas like a little bit further up the left and then Trent tucked in, which interesting strategy given his an inability to defend, but it seemed to work against Rangers. Obviously not as good as an opponent. Um,
just a
but,
little
and
bit.
yeah, anyways, so yeah, I try to steer away from a bet here that was like, that would, subject me to listening to my Liverpool fandom here. So I actually took a peek at the RotoWire cheat sheet for the week. You can obviously that's kind of where I start everything when I start looking at things. But two of the teams who have conceded the least amount of goals this season, or who have given away the most amount of corner, or how would I say that? Basically,
Least
what
amount.
I'm trying, yeah, least amount of corners here are Arsenal and Liverpool. Um, and then at the bottom there is Manchester City, and so just given the fact that like neither of the team gives away a lot of corners, I feel like we won't see too many, and you can get under 9.5 corners at minus 105, which I feel like is like quite a bit in the Premier League. Arsenal is conceding less than, or they're it's 2.5, and then Liverpool's 3.14. So just on the cheat sheet. So that's where I'm going to go. And in the past, we've talked a lot about how we're going to steer clear corner bets, but that's not the case this week.
Yeah, I'm just going back to the recent results. The last two, there's been 7 corners in each of those games. And then there was 9 corners in the scoreless draw was this last in January, but I mean that also included a Granit Xhaka red card, so you can't really look at the corners in that game. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think
like I mean, 10 corners is a lot of corners.
mhm. I think all of our bets actually somewhat align with each other. I mean, we both took kind of the overs in the last game, and this one kind of the unders, just different kind of unders here. And I kind of have the same thoughts. Your reasoning here on what happened with TAA midweek and how they actually approach that game, I think helps my bet even more. So I'm going under 2.5 goals at plus 130. Obviously, that's going to be against the public. The public hates betting unders, but I mean, you look at recent results, been fairly low scoring. There's been 4 goals in the last 3 meetings. I guess in the 3 meetings last season. Oh, sorry.
It's
I
all
guess
under 2.5.
I guess 2 of those were in the cup match because they had 2 games in that within a week of each other. But the last 3 matches, 4 goals total, and I just think that like what you saw with Liverpool, they had that 3-3 match against Brighton. It seemed like Klopp is kind of changing things up a little bit. Like he doesn't want to keep allowing 3 goals. He wants to play maybe a little more safer, and maybe that's going to make things a little more defensive than some people think. And then you also throw in Arsenal at home, uh, pretty solid at home. They had that win against Tottenham last week, and arguably playing almost as good as Manchester City. Obviously, they're not scoring as many as Manchester City, but playing really well, and their defense is pretty much healthy. They got Party in there, they got Chaka in there in the midfield, and it's working for them. I think it's going to be. I just think it's going to be defensive. So you're getting plus money under 2.5 goals. I mean, we saw the results last season. I think we're looking at maybe not scoreless, but this could be like a 1-1, 1-0, 2-0 kind of a thing. So I like the under 2.5 though. I don't think this is a game that's up and down like what we just saw from Liverpool Brighton.
Yeah. Interesting enough, across all competitions, Liverpool's won 8 of the last 11 matches, I think, or are unbeaten in 8 of the last 11 against Arsenal. So Arsenal, like a new side this year, definitely, without a doubt. I'm interested to see it, like if they kind of like bury the hatchet on some of these demons against Liverpool, where it's like they won a couple matches. I think one was a League Cup, but other than that, they've kind of, I think they won one in 2020 in the Premier League, but other than that, they've kind of struggled to beat Liverpool over the last couple of years.
The one worry with this is that Arsenal has been good this season,
Right,
and
very good, very
all
good.
of their matches have been over 2.5 goals outside of their opener 2-0 win at Crystal Palace. So you look at that, but then again, this is Liverpool, and if they do want to play more defensive than they've looked in recent games, like a lot of those games weren't with Joel Matip in on the back line.
Yeah,
Joe
totally. I mean,
Gomez
Joe,
Joe
bad,
Gomez was thrown out after
bad player,
making, I don't
bad.
know, three
Oh man,
mistakes that led to goals in one game.
yeah,
So you got that in there. Actually, Konate returned to the bench last game too,
yep,
midweek. So I mean, there's a chance he's even in there. That's definitely a boost. So I like the under. We'll see what happens, but hoping it's not like a 2-1 game. I'll say.
yeah, definitely. And we got it in that prime time TV spot on Sunday. So that's money.
Yeah, I believe there's 4 games Sunday, and they're all at different times, which is kind of like, I guess the 2 early ones are at the same time. I was gonna say
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's kind of like COVID times when it's just like, here we'll do 4 games at different times, 4 games at different times, and then we'll do one on Monday, one on Friday, kind of thing. It's like, well, okay, this is weird, but
bad if you're playing daily fantasy sports.
right,
Great if you're just trying to chill and watch a bunch of soccer games.
great if you want to like just have one bet, let it ride, have another bet, let it ride, have another
Yeah, like
bet, let it ride.
have entirely too much coffee or too many beers sitting on your couch throughout the day,
Well, well, in that case, it's like you
or
get to
tea,
the
or whatever
late
your
you
thing
get
is.
to the late match, and it's like, all right, well, I lost my first 3 bets of the day, so what are we gonna do
Yes,
here? Let's just keep going. I need to win my money
you're
back. Let's see what happens.
you're in a mental pretzel, just trying to be like, okay, I got to get it back, or I'm like, oh, I'm up big.
Exactly. All right. So speaking of Monday, Friday matches, we got a Monday night match last week. We talked about Nottingham Forest last week, but for some reason they're getting all these Monday night matches. Obviously, they don't have European competition, so that's part of it. But it is funny getting back to back Monday night matches for Nottingham Forest. But they're home against Aston Villa. You can get them. Looking at the line movement, I don't know. They were plus 260 at a few weeks ago during the international break. That's kind of surprising, but it's gone down. So Nottingham Forest plus 225 to win. Aston Villa, you can get plus 120 at DraftKings. The draws plus 245. Over 2.5 goals plus 100. Under 2.5 goals minus 130. This is just a tough game, I think. Just a tough game to read. Do you have a read on it? I guess I'll say.
I feel kind of strongly about it actually, but
All right, there you go.
um,
Speak to us.
I mean, all right, let's look at Nottingham. They have been getting absolutely, I mean, kind of obliterated here defensively. They've given up what, 4 goals, 3 goals, 3 goals, 6 goals to match. I mean, that's Man City, so obviously a little bit different beast there. Gave up 2 to Tottenham as well. So they've lost their last 5, and in each game it's been over 1.5 goals. So I mean, that leads to me to my theory that I'm going to take Aston Villa to win, which, to be clear here, I don't exactly love Aston Villa this season. They've kind of been just like, I guess it's like Wonder Breading compared to Rye Bread, just kind of a little boring. But so yeah, I like them to go to win and to go over 1.5 goals here overall. And I think you get what, plus 175 odds, so you get some pretty awesome odds here. Um, I just don't see how. I mean, Steve Bruce is, or is it Steve Bruce?
Cooper.
Steve Cooper is still at Nottingham despite, like, I mean, some pretty embarrassing losses. I will say, like, when you bring in 20 plus players, there's bound to be some lack of continuity. But I just think Aston Villa much stronger side here, despite all the transfers that Nottingham has made, and they're actually playing decent lately. They're unbeaten in their last 3. I mean, not the most. I mean, they tied Man City, 1-0 over Southampton. Not a a huge result, but it is a result regardless. And then that 0-0 draw with Leeds United last week. So all that said, I think Aston Villa can actually win this match, and if they don't, it would be pretty disappointing for them overall. So I got that at what was it, plus 175 for Villa and plus 1.5. So a parlay within a bet, if you will.
Yes, Aston Villa to win, and then the over 1.5 goals. There you go. I like that. I think that bet makes sense. But I have kind of the same theory. I don't know if theory is the right word, but what I took last week. So we had Leicester City home against Nottingham Forest. I actually had two separate bets, one in my article, one in this show. I was just talking about Brendan Rodgers. It's like Leicester, they're either not going to show up because they don't want to play for Brendan Rodgers, or they're going to show up and win this game easily. So I hit Leicester, and I did a similar parlay to you. I hit Leicester to win and the over, and then I hit, I think, over 3.5 goals. And
let me back up real quick. Your theory was that they could either win or they could lose. To sum it up.
Yeah, okay. You know what? That led to 2 winning bets. So.
Oh, boom! We love it. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. It matters. It's not how. It's how many.
All right. Well, maybe they're not going to lose, but it's either they're going to actually play for Brendan Rodgers or they're not going to actually they're a better team than Nottingham Forest. It's whether they show up or not, kind of a thing.
Yeah, totally.
So the thought process here is that I think even though they have 20 new players, maybe, that love for Steve Cooper maybe isn't there, but, I think as a club, as fans, it seems like everyone loves Steve Cooper. They're backing him a lot. I considered, I think a couple weeks ago over the national break, like Steve Cooper was 8-1 for the next manager to be sacked. And then, I looked into it and it's like, well, like I said, it seems like management likes him. They're going to try and work it out for him. So you got that. You got Monday night match under the lights, and Nottingham Forest have played well at times. Like they have the win against West Ham. They battled Tottenham in a home match. And sure, you look at their other results, and it's like, okay, they gave up 3 goals to Bournemouth in the second half, 3 goals to Fulham. They haven't looked good. So that's kind of why I think this is a harder match to project. We could get a team that's, riding together under the lights, playing for Steve Cooper, putting up a fight here, or we could get the same team we've seen for the past month in Aston Villa to win. So I do think Villa's a side, but that's just where I'm coming at. But I guess I can get into my bet now. Not the best odds. We're kind of the opposite. So you can get plus 175 on yours. Mine's minus 135. So it's under 10.5 corners. Just getting back to what you were saying with Aston Villa. So Aston Villa struggled earlier in the season, and Steven Gerrard basically changed things up. He wanted to go a little bit more defensive, wanted to contain teams a little more. We saw that late last season. And, what was since the Crystal Palace match maybe that we've seen him play a little more defensive. Yeah. They have the draw against Man City. They got the win against Aston Villa. You got the scoreless draw against Leeds. All those matches, they're pretty much limiting corners. 5 total corners in the West Ham match. There was 11 in the Leeds match, but Leeds got a red card in the 48th minute, so you can't really include that. 9 corners in the Southampton match, and then you got 5 in the Manchester City match. I just think Aston Villa, they're limiting opportunities for the other team, and on the other side of that, they're not really getting a ton of corners. Even though Nottingham Forest allow a ton of corners, I think they actually, maybe they'll show up defensively, but maybe if they don't, I'm not sure the corners will be there for Aston Villa. So let's do under 10.5 corners, minus 135. I just talked for 5 straight minutes. What do you think about everything I said here?
We swore off the corner bets, and we're right back to it. I think there's that meme when the clown takes off his clown face mask. And then what does he do? But what's under it? But another clown face mask.
And it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's like taking off the layers and I'm still a clown.
The thing is, I should have said the last time I took a corner bet, we won it because it was in the team parlay. I had Newcastle over, and I'd said if this doesn't hit, I'm not going to take a corner bet again.
This is true.
Now I hit one. There's 2 corner bets in this show, so there you go.
I think to be fair, I'm only over one on one corner bet this year. So
Sorry, there's
I
three
don't, I,
corner bets, including yours. So this is a corner show now.
oh man, call it the corners and wagers here. Um, but yeah, interesting bet. I will say, like, giving based on like the things that I did for my corner bet, I was looking at our cheat sheet. Nottingham Forest concede the second most corners of any Premier League team. So does that concern you at all
Let's didn't
for the
doesn't
under?
didn't your losing corner bet, wasn't that the Nottingham Forest match and they had one corner or something?
Yeah, yeah. It was like I think Nottingham and Tottenham. I want to say maybe.
All right, let me pull it up. It was 2-0, and yeah, Nottingham Forest had six corners in that match and Tottenham had one.
Absolute didn't. Yeah. So I mean, the under on 10.5 here is much better play than trying to go over. You
I
know.
don't I don't I don't think it scares me too much. Let's actually pull up. We can actually do home and away. Let's see what the difference is home and away. A little better. They're only allowing six corners per home match. So
Okay. I
that's
mean,
at
and
least a
Villa's allowing
positive.
like overall like what, like four, I think, a match.
Yeah, away from home, Aston Villa. They
Well,
are
a
near
little
the
under
bottom
five.
here. Yeah,
Oh,
about
really?
five.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that makes sense. That's I'm no mathematician here, but I think that's right around under 9.5 or under 10.5.
Hmm.
But yeah, I feel good about it, especially at minus 135 odds. Pretty long or pretty favorable, I guess, in terms of them being right on that cusp. But anyways, we spent a lot of time on corners. Do we get
Yeah,
into our parlay here?
yeah. Sorry for those who don't use our cheat sheets. I was looking at the corners, but I didn't have that screen up. It's right at the bottom here. Team conceded stats. You can click total, home, away, and then just click corners and see all the corners allowed, that kind of thing. So, right there, pretty easy. And this includes every team because it's the full game cheat sheet. So there you go. But yeah, team parlay time. As I said, AJ and I hit last week. I think it hit right at the end for me. I took both teams to score in Newcastle and Fulham. Fulham had an early
Nice.
red card. They got a late goal. Escaped with that one, a bit lucky. And then AJ took no on both teams to score for West Ham and Wolverhampton, which was a pretty easy one there. So this week, a little different. A little different. I'll just get in right into it. You said enough of the corners talk, but I'm taking another corner bet. It's the same bet I took a few weeks ago on this, and it worked. Newcastle. So over 6.5 corners for Newcastle is plus 100. I'm just getting the extra plus oh 05 here. Race to seven corners plus 105. So you look at it, Newcastle, as we said earlier, the fourth biggest favorite on the slate. At home, they tend to do well at home. They tend to control the pace of matches. They tend to attack a lot. And Callum Wilson's back. I think that's a boost. Bruno's back as well. He played last week. So you got all that in there. You got with Brentford that Pontus Jansson is out with an injury. So we actually don't know if Brentford are going to do three center backs or they're going to plug in Zonka or Christopher Aguirre at the other center back spot against Ben Mee. So that's one thing going against Brentford. They still have Norgard out, and I just think Newcastle are going to control this one. Uh, I'm not sure the exact numbers, but when I was looking earlier, they have, I think, five of their matches this season have been over seven corners. Like they have matches with 8 corners, 11 corners, 10 corners, that kind of thing. So I just like them to control the pace in this one, and that'll lead to corners. And that was my theory in the last one. So going with it again.
Nice.
Newcastle race to seven corners plus 105. What do you got to win this parlay?
If Going back here, if Brentford are forced to play Zonka at center back, like go find those Newcastle bets wherever you can. Like I feel like every time he plays in defense for them, it's just like they're Brentford are bad. So
Yes, I mean, speaking of that, just in terms of like just watching lineups when they come out. Um, so last week, Newcastle were at Fulham, and we had a surprise where it was so Anthony Robinson was out, Kenny Tete was out. So Fulham was doing two new fullbacks, and they just were out of it from the start. Like Mbabu and Kurzawa, who didn't even play for PSG last season. So like just simple things like that to watch out for. I think I grabbed Callum Wilson to score when the lineups came out. I think it was plus 160. So like if you see like weird lineup things like that, like Zonka's in the starting 11, like in that case, like I jump on Callum Wilson to score again. I jump on Newcastle money line, that kind of thing. So just something to keep your eye on an hour before these games start. So all right, back
Yeah,
to the parlay.
totally. Yeah, so I guess we got your parlay here and then mine. I'm taking Bournemouth will be hosting a rejuvenated Leicester City side. They won 4-0 last week against who did I say that was against? It was a Nottingham
Forest.
Forest
Yeah.
who's lost to everyone. Prior to that, Leicester City haven't done anything. They're sitting tied for basically bottom of the table here with Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth, on the other hand, have actually had a good run of form. They've drawn 3 of their last 4 with a win somewhere in the middle there, and they're actually playing pretty solid. I will say that their opposition hasn't been particularly good against Brentford, Newcastle, and Nottingham, and then Wolves. So like nobody crazy there, but Leicester haven't been good either here. So I'm taking them playing at home against Leicester City, who have just one win on the season. I'm going to take that double chance, and I believe that is minus 135. So in order for this to be a Kits and Wagers parlay, it's got to be plus 200 odds, which we get at plus 256 when we couple that with your plus 105 here. So it would be great to go. I guess you and AJ got it last week, but for us to kind of get back on the horse here and hit this parlay, which I actually feel okay about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Leicester game is kind of difficult, but I'm on your side on this one. Bournemouth have since they sacked
Scott Parker.
Since they sacked Scott Parker, like Gary O'Neill has taken over, and they've just played defensive. They've played very defensive to where they're just limiting teams, and at times, playing probably too defensive and trying their luck out. But I'm not sure, Leicester are, just because they beat Nottingham Forest 4-0, that they're back. They're back to being a top 10 team, a top 6 team, or anything like that. So I like it. I mean, you mentioned the recent results, but getting the 1-1 result at Newcastle was pretty impressive. That was the match where I took over 6.5 corners. Newcastle had 8 corners in that one, but just getting a result in a game like that, and then they really just made things ugly against Brentford, who maybe not the same firepower as Leicester, but pretty similar overall. Those teams, Brentford and Leicester. I mean, you look at that one; it was pretty defensive overall. Neither team had an expected goal total over 1, so I like it. I think Bournemouth are going to play for. They're basically trying to play for 1 point, and that's what this bet is. So, and again, given Leicester, I think it's a pretty decent route to take. So yeah, plus 256 on that. So
let's hope next week we come back and we're talking about another parlay win, so we could use some help.
Yeah, speaking of that, I didn't mention. So I'm 17-7. I went 4-0 last week.
Absurd. Just the man is on a heater.
I don't like bragging about myself, and it's never good to talk about your winnings in terms of betting.
Says who?
Me, well, everyone, but but I just got to get the word out on how much success that I've been having. So. I've been 17-7 on this show, and if you do $100 bets on that, as we do, it's up $1,383 because I do a lot of plus bets, so a lot of big money there. I just want to throw that one out to the people. Chris,
Yeah,
Chris is getting
don't listen to me. Do not listen to me is what he's saying, and listen to him. And I agree with that theory.
All right, last time Chris was on the show, he went 3-0, so. Take that into account.
I'm back, baby. I'm back.
All right, that's all we got for the games we're talking about. Does anything else stand out to you, just in terms of these matchups? I like Chelsea. I took Chelsea to beat AC Milan midweek. Wolverhampton sacked Bruno Lage. Still don't have Nathan Collins because he's suspended. That kind of thing. I'd take West Ham to beat Fulham. Just check on those lineups again. We'll see what happens with their fullback situation, which I was talking about. But Anything else stand out to you in terms of just watchability of these games, or anything you
Yeah, I
want to
mean,
bet kind of a
we got
thing?
Manchester United going to Everton. Traditionally a pretty good match. Everton are okay. So yeah, I'm interested in that match just from a watching perspective. I mean, Everton have won two in a row and had drawn three before that, so they're like unbeaten. And then United, of course, prior to getting, I forget who they lost to. Oh, Man City. Sorry,
Mm.
prior to losing to Man City, they had won four straight. So two teams in like decent form. I mean, and it's absolutely no like bad on you for dropping points to Man City. You know, so they just smoke everybody anyways.
Yeah, Manchester United. I actually think Everton are just not getting a ton of respect in terms of the odds, but Manchester United were in Cyprus today. They came back. They were down. They came back. They won 3-2 today. So they're traveling a bit. So this is a Thursday to Sunday turnaround to where they're traveling from Cyprus to Everton in this one. But I just think Everton. This isn't the same Everton team as last season. I wrote about this in my
Yeah,
article, but like Connor Cody and Tarkowski together is not the same back line as last season. Like Idrissa Gueye, Amadou Onana, not the same midfielders as last season. So you got all these things. Like Michael Lenko was in the team at the beginning of the year, kind of a thing. Um, yeah, so even Neil Maupay and Calvert Lewin's getting there. So like these odds are almost based off of like Everton in the second half of last season, but it's not the same team. So like, why are they still plus 260 underdogs? So that's kind of what my
yeah.
thoughts are on that one.
One final thing here before I run out of air is we got to check the Holland goal stats, and so I mean we're getting any time at minus 170. The guy is a robot. He's a cheat code. It's
Minus
incredible.
260. Where are you looking at?
Oh, I said, what did I say?
You said minus
Minus one.
170.
Oh, sorry, to score his first or last. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong ones. I'm in goal score premier. Yeah, on DraftKings, I got minus
Whoa!
400. Minus 400.
Holy cow! I wonder if these odds are coming
Where are
from.
you
Yeah.
getting those odds? You got to go grab those.
Yeah, minus
Wait,
400 on DraftKings. Holy
yeah,
cow!
he is a plus 160 first score, last score.
Right.
And then so there's actually a little bit of, I would consider popping at least the first one, even either one doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
first
Why is
score, at least
first? It
the
seems
first
like
score
first
though, I
goal
would rather
scores.
have because he might sub off
Right.
later
Right.
in the
Right.
match. So and they might score another goal. But other than that, I mean, you can get to score two or more is plus 110. That's interesting. But to score another hat trick is plus 360, which is insane for a hat trick
I'd
odds.
I'd rather just take the first goal at 160. That seems.
I think you're right too. I think that seems like the best bet for Holland.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Seems
think
automatic.
I think these odds are at FanDuel. Most of our odds on our cheat sheets are FanDuel. So
Okay.
if you got money at FanDuel, minus 260 for Holland. So not too bad there. But yeah, that's all we got for today. Bunch of winners, bunch of games to talked about, and I feel pretty good on all of these. I mean, you look at our bets that they're pretty much aligned for the most part. All of them are, and as we said, I think Team Parlay hits. So here we go. This is the week we go 7-0. Chris is back, and we're back to getting some wins. But you can find Chris at CHROwen8 on Twitter. I'm at Zdroik. Chris, thanks for joining me, and we'll be back next week as usual for Game Week 11. And of course, there's more Champions League next week too. So never-ending content at RotoWire. But Chris, thanks again. See you later.
Thanks, Adam. Have a great weekend.